Hello and welcome to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Marc Elrich. I'm Lorna Virgili and thank you so much for watching. Hello, Mr. Elrich. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Summer's almost over.
Sad. Though August has been surprisingly good.
It has
I was
been.
like, if these are the dog days of August, I'll take them anytime.
It got too cold too soon for me. How was your summer?
Long.
Okay.
Not bad. I got a couple of breaks.
Okay.
So breaks are good.
Were you able to spend some time with the family, which was really overdue?
A little. Mostly, I got away to, I went to a conference, but then I went to
That's a Mako
Chicago.
conference.
Yeah, I went to the Mako conference. But I got away to Chicago for a few days, which was really, really nice. And I
Good.
took
Not better than Montgomery County.
different than Montgomery County.
Different. All right, so let's get started with some of the topics that we want to address for this particular show. Let's start with the hiring of the police chief.
Right.
After you went through the whole process with one of the candidates, your top candidate, Tanya Chapman, she withdrew. You
Right.
mentioned that it was disappointing. She sent you a letter saying that it was not a good fit. What really happened?
I think she felt that after a very long time and answering lots of questions, the fact that people didn't feel that they were ready to commit, and there weren't 5 people who said no, but there weren't 5 people who were ready to say yes. And
When you said 5 people, you're talking about
there weren't 5 council members who
council.
said no, but there weren't 5 who had said yes, and I don't know if she felt that it was worthwhile continuing trying to, get the votes that she would need.
Have you spoken to the 5 yes or the 5 no's, especially that?
Well, there weren't 5 no's, there just weren't 5 yeses. It's a different thing.
Okay. Did you get any feedback from county council after she withdrew?
No, people really haven't talked about that.
Okay. So you don't have a better picture as to what really happened, and
I feel that despite her best efforts to answer questions, that they didn't feel that all the questions were answered. And the big thing about her leaving Portsmouth, despite her effort to get Portsmouth to explain the situation and signing a release and saying they could, release any information, nobody in Portsmouth would talk about it. So it just kind of left a cloud, and people, didn't seem to be able to get past, well, we don't understand how or why this happened. And since she didn't understand why it happened, and Portsmouth wouldn't talk about what happened, made it kind of difficult to answer a question if the people who made the decision aren't willing to talk about it.
okay. Marcus Jones, the current interim chief,
Right.
his name obviously has come back, obviously as a potential candidate, but you've said that you really are looking for something different, someone different. As far as the police department itself, that continues to be your position.
Yeah, I think, obviously, council members leaked who we were talking about. We have been talking with Daryl McSwain, who used to be in the department. I've met with him, and we had hoped to have a longer period of, I'd say, quiet contemplation. We're still doing background checks, and we wanted the council to have a chance to be introduced to a candidate without it being public, so they could have a quiet period in which to discuss it, and that didn't happen.
Okay. Candidate, do you have one right now? Did you say?
Well, obviously the press has reported Daryl McSwain, and we have talked to him. We haven't gotten to the point of finishing all the things we need to do, but that certainly appears to be the direction we're going in.
Okay. The process before, it was rather democratic. You had a lot of people, stakeholders, community leaders be involved
Right.
in the process. And you did mention also the fact that this, it was a little counterproductive at the end of the day, having to listen to so many voices, and we're 50 people giving their opinions. Are you going to put the next candidate through the same process?
We're not going through the same process. Part of what we learned out of process are what people's concerns were. We had a very large meeting about, with the community about policing in general. And it wasn't focused on a candidate, it was focused on what does the community expect out of the police force? And that was pretty informative in the interviews and the comments people made about the candidates that they preferred. I will say that Ms. Chapman was the choice of most of the people who interviewed the candidates. That, you know, I learned a lot about what people are interested in. And we're not going to replicate that process. It's not fair to the department to go through this all again. But we are going to have.
And it's difficult to please everybody as well.
It's well, you know, it wasn't confusing to listen to what people said. I mean, that was not the issue. The problem with the process, if there was a problem with the process, is that there too people leaked out names when they weren't supposed to leak out names. So people knew who it was narrowed down to and made it public before it should have been made public. And, you know, so you tell people this is a confidential process. People who are in contention for jobs don't necessarily want their names out there if they don't know if they're going to get the job, and still information was put out. And I don't think it served the process very well. It certainly didn't serve it well in the end. But it wasn't any confusion. I didn't find anything confusing about what people said, and I think that regardless of what candidate people may have been more focused on, there was similar desire to see reforms and changes in the department.
Still on the topic of police, as County Council, it's coming back from recess in trying to create the police commission with civilians. What's your take on that?
Well, the bill's constructed within the limits of the state law, and so it's really strictly advisory. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an advisory panel. I think there are a lot of communities that have gone into civilian review boards. I think having a civilian take on policing and having the police department able to get feedback on both policies and actions is a good thing.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and we're going to be right back. Please stay tuned. More to come with County Executive Marc Elrich.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
If you think someone might be considering suicide or drugs, be the one to help them by taking these 5 steps. Ask, keep them safe, be there, help them connect, follow up. If you're struggling, call Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK or the 24-hour crisis center at 240-777-4000. Be the one to help. Learn more at BeTheOne.org.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Marc Elrich. I'm Lorna Virgili. We're talking about police. We're going to transition now to immigration. So you issued a joint statement with Council President Nancy Navarro on immigrant support. Then you signed the executive order on community trust, which explained a little bit more the county's policy.
Right.
Lots invested on the immigration issue, and recently you've taken a little bit of heat on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about both the joint statement on immigration, the executive order, and also kind of your message to those in the communities that perhaps do not understand still the county's posture when it has to do with collaborating with ICE. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so you may have to break that into bites to remind me where we are on the process.
Okay.
My executive order basically confirmed county policy. We didn't change county policy, but we took it from a set of policies to the status of being an executive order. And there were, folks in the community and on the council who wanted something stronger than a collection of policies. There was a tension, obviously, between people who wanted a declaration of sanctuary city and people who did not want to go as far as declaring the, sanctuary city. We think that we do most of what's considered sanctuary, but we're not really, we're not technically a sanctuary city. And I think there's a lot of, feeling in the council and in the community, because these aren't new policies to me. This is a continuation of policies that were in place when Mr. Leggett was county executive, that we've tried to be a welcoming community. It is generally accepted that if the immigrant population feels safe and feels that they can talk to the police and that they're not going to jeopardize their condition here, that you get more cooperation and more support from the communities than if you're in a posture where the police or the community feels the police are looking to lock them up if they're not here, or if they're undocumented, where police are hostile to the community. So even the police have been supportive of having a strong relationship and have been supported.
So that particular policy, per se, did not change. That did not change.
Well, no, none of that policy changed.
Nothing has changed. The ICE collaboration, because obviously there was a couple of incidents where undocumented immigrants have been facing charges
Right.
of rape. One particular incident, one paid bail and walked away from our detention correction facility. ICE pushed back, criticizing Montgomery County government, and you issued a statement clarifying how the process happens in Montgomery County.
Right.
Do you want to go over that again?
Sure.
Sure.
There was an opinion written by the state's attorney general a number of years ago, and not particularly for Montgomery County, but for the state in general, addressing the issue of ICE detainers and can you hold people after they've been released by the judicial system. And the opinion says that, and it's an opinion, that he does not believe that it is correct to hold people beyond the point of them serving a sentence or beyond the point in which the judicial system says you are in our custody. And so when you post bail, the judicial system's done with you. When you finish serving your sentence, the judicial system's done with you. And if you start a case and the case winds up not being processed, the judicial system's finished. And at the end of that, a person is supposed to be free. And people have made a lot out of that, and they focus on the fact that immigrants have been allowed to go free at the end of, in parts of this process, like as you said, with bail. And it is concerning, and I think if people have a concern about how easily it is to get out of jail in cases of rape or, child molesting, that's an issue of bail, though. Because for one of the defendants in that case, the judge said no bail. For another defendant, he set a bail amount. And so the fact that a person got out was a decision of the judicial system. I'll point out, I just saw something last night that one of the people we released and notified ICE that we were going to release them, and they actually picked this person up, was taken by ICE, and then released when that person met bail for the ICE detainer. So if the issue is the people who, are dangerous community, will be taken by ICE and everybody will be safe, ICE just released somebody when they met bail. So I'm a little bit confused about what signal ICE is trying to send, because it seems to me they're constrained by the same laws that we are. The other thing I'll point out, and I would hope this would be obvious, that people leave the jail system every day on bail. these are not the first people who've been accused of rape who have been released on bail or accused of anything and released on bail. And I find it unfortunate that people focus and single out their immigration status as this is a horrible thing because dangerous people are being released in the community, but don't say anything about what happens when an American citizen is released back into the community after being charged with the very same things. I think that
in this instance, it was obviously because ICE pushed back and complained
Yes.
about it publicly to the media as well, was involved
Right.
and so forth. And you held a press event and you mentioned that maybe you were going to take a look at the way that corrections communicates with ICE as part of the process that is done on a regular basis.
There was a mistake on our part when we did call to notify ICE, and they called the number on the form, and they got an answering machine, and they left a message, and we didn't get called back. And the fact was there was another second number on the form that, if somebody had read it farther down, they would have seen it, and they could have called. On the other hand,
So it's sold with multiple numbers for ICE, basically.
there are multiple numbers, and we've told people you have to use multiple numbers. But I want to say, on the other hand, the number that we called, I said, well, this person was on vacation, and they weren't around. And I'm like, well, might have been helpful if the message on the machine was not, leave a message and I'll get back to you.
This ICE employee is on vacation.
Yes, I'm on vacation. I will not get back to you. Please call this other number. That would have solved that problem.
Exactly. Let's take a short break, and we're going to be right back. Stay tuned, more to come with County Executive Marc Elrich.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls, 311. MC311 is Montgomery County Government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Welcome back to 101 with County Executive Marc Elrich. Let's transition into other topics like the Business Connect in Silver Spring.
Yeah.
This is one of the top priorities, business economic development in the county, especially smaller, mid-sized businesses. Up County, it was a pilot program in the regional services in Germantown, and now in Silver Spring.
Right.
Where's next, and what do you hope to accomplish? And is it really working? Have you gotten any results?
We've gotten good feedback.
Okay.
And that's what we start with is people finding that they're able to get help. Our goal was to restore at the community level supports for small businesses, and we haven't had that for a while. And I thought that we've put a lot of focus on large corporations, but the bread and butter of the county and most of the jobs come out of the small business sector. And small businesses, that's hard territory. It's an area where a lot of businesses fail and a lot of good ideas don't come to fruition, oftentimes because people don't have adequate support. They don't know enough about bookkeeping. They don't know enough about business practices, how do you handle taxes, and they wind up, losing their businesses. And we thought it would be good to have available in the community, and we hope to have these in all the regional service centers, the ability to come in and talk to people and meet with people, for us to be able to run trainings from there and opportunities to help people with business, help people understand what opportunities there are in the county, and to be more supportive of the small business community. So we did these listening sessions. Sydney Katz and I went around. I think we talked to 5 or 6 groups of people. We're still taking input from people on
with a survey through the end of September.
It's end of September.
The online survey.
Yeah. And we originally were going to end it earlier.
Long.
It's long, but what we're asking people is to tell us if you run a business in Montgomery County, or have thought about it, or if you live in Montgomery County but decided to open a business elsewhere because you thought that our practices were too difficult and you could open it easier in another jurisdiction. We've asked people to tell us, what are we doing that makes it difficult? How could we be more friendly and more supportive? Why would you go someplace else other than here? If the markets were the same, what about here made it difficult for you to open, so that we can look at legislative changes, things we can do in the permitting process or in the code process, that changes we can make that wouldn't have a negative impact on the county, wouldn't have negative environmental or community impacts, but at the same time would be beneficial. And there are examples of things where other jurisdictions may not be as onerous as we are to get through. And so we're trying to collect information and have the people who've experienced it tell us what we need to work on. Legislative
changes, talk about the local business preference program for businesses, obviously,
right.
Headquartered here in Montgomery County. That legislation already went to County Council?
It's going, yeah. And what we found is people talked about when they go to other jurisdictions, they lose contracts. They can't compete because other jurisdictions give preferences to their local small businesses. Montgomery County doesn't have that. I've had people come to me who are Montgomery County residents who said, I opened my business in Prince George's County because there's preferences over there, and so they favor businesses from Prince George's County. There are no preferences in Montgomery County, so I could still bid here, but if I'm over there, I get a preference on county business. And we thought, we ought to offer our businesses the same thing. We ought to preference Montgomery County businesses if we're doing contracts. If it's at all possible to give that business to somebody who's, local small business, we should do that, because those people are paying rent here, they're paying property taxes here, they're paying income taxes here, they're employing people often who live here, their inventory is here. So I get the advantage of not just, it's not just a preference and maybe we were willing to pay a little bit more for local business, but we're going to see money come back in a myriad of different ways that we don't see when we write a check to a company that takes that money out of the county or out of the state. So we think it makes sense to support small businesses and make sure that they're preferenced in the county.
And the preference is in terms of rating, getting...
It's both in points.
Okay, points.
And in price.
And in pricing. Okay.
So if all things are equal, you can be within 10% of a low bid. And if you're local, you get, I think it's up to a 10% bonus.
10 points. Okay. Let's talk about the opening of the Wheaton Recreation and Library
yes.
Complex.
Yes.
It's the first complex of its kind, not only in Montgomery County, but pretty much in the region. In your last budget, funded the operations of it, which was important. Right. So it could open and have employees, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a concept.
It's very exciting for that particular part of Montgomery County as part of the redevelopment
right.
that is happening there. Funding, consecutive funding, going to go up for FY21?
Well, it'll open. It'll have the funding it needs to be open. That's, it's important not only to build facilities, but you've got to staff them. And so we're excited. It's an improvement on the library. It will offer more opportunities. People will have more modern spaces, more usable for the users, and it's a significant improvement in the rec center. mostly because we didn't have one. We had a small community center, but nothing on the scale of what we're providing there. So there are lots of residents there. There's increased residential development in downtown Wheaton, so we're continuing to draw people there. And they need to have access to the kind of amenities that we've tried to provide elsewhere in the county. So I'm excited. It's a big project. It's in a good location. It's on, on Georgia Avenue, Arcola. It is easy to get to.
We just need the state to do another traffic light and pedestrian crossing through Georgia Avenue.
Which light did you want?
Pedestrian on Parker. Pedestrian.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that region, with that area, that part of town. Yeah, pedestrian safety is a big issue, particularly in that part of town. And the main entrance, it's in the middle of the sidewalk. It's not at any other corners. So that's coming soon.
Look, pedestrian safety,
it's another issue across the county.
Is another, and it's a big issue. And well, comparatively, the county is not, a terrible place. We have more deaths than we should have, both bicyclists and folks who are just trying to cross the streets. And so we have a vision 0. The goal is to try to get to 0, and that's a very challenging thing. Some things we can fix with improvements to intersections. You talk about crosswalks. We've installed, yet another hawk signal, which provides a hard stoplight for people who are trying to cross the street in a crossing, rather than hoping the cars actually see them and stop. So we're looking to doing more innovative things. When I was a candidate, I asked the state to consider lowering the speed limits, or letting us lower the speed limits in the urban areas, and so we've been able to. They gave us permission this year, so we've lowered speed limits in the downtown areas to 25 miles an hour. 35 miles an hour on Georgia Avenue in the middle of Wheaton is a little bit crazy. And it's worth it to have the speed limit drop down. Even if you have a pedestrian collision, the damage is likely to be far less at 25 than at 35. But our goal is, at the lower speeds, the drivers make better decisions.
Exactly. We're going to need a little bit of enforcement, because who drives at 25 on Georgia?
Actually, I drive at 25, and that's.
You are our county executive, by example.
If I'm in the middle of that, it really does make a difference. You can see it.
It does make a big difference. It does. Well, thank you for joining us today. And coming on the next show, we'll talk about Census 2020.
Yes.
As the county gears up for that, and also your listening sessions for your operating budget, FY21, which begin in the fall. In the fall. Thank you, Mr. Elrich.
Thank you.
Thank you. For you watching at home, for any further information, you can visit montgomerycountymd.gov. I'm Lorna Virgili. Thank you for watching.
In Montgomery County, we have a goal to reduce waste and recycle 70% of all waste by 2020. By recycling and reducing waste, we save natural resources and make our community even better. So recycle at home, work, school, everywhere, and keep recycling going. For more information, call the Montgomery County, Maryland Division of Solid Waste Services at 311 or visit montgomerycountymd.gov/recycling.
Keep it going.
Recycle more now.
I think someone at my friend's school has this thing called autism. My friend's brother's son has autism. My neighbor's son has autism. My son has autism.
Autism is getting closer to home. Today, 1 in 88 children is diagnosed with autism. That's a 1,000% increase in the last 40 years. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.